The massive alien ship drifted silently through the darkness of space, its hull gleaming silver under the distant light of Earth's sun. Inside the vessel, Ambassador Veltar stood before a large viewing screen, his 6 arms folded behind his back as he studied the blue and green planet below. His purple skin rippled with anticipation, and his large golden eyes reflected the soft glow of the ship's control panels. Another primitive world, he muttered to himself, reviewing the data scrolling across his personal display. Radio signals, basic satellites, chemical rockets. They barely made it off their own planet. Commander Thexera approached from behind, her crystal-like features catching the light as she moved. Her species, the Kithera, had joined the Galactic Confederation 300 years ago, and she remembered her own world's first contact well. The same pattern as always, Ambassador. They will be shocked at first, then amazed, then grateful for our guidance. Veltar nodded slowly. The Confederation had made contact with 847 different species across the galaxy. Each time followed the same basic steps. First, they would send peaceful messages. The primitive species would panic, sometimes shooting a few missiles that could not even scratch their shields. Then came wonder and awe as they realized they were not alone in the universe. Finally, acceptance and eager requests to join galactic civilization. "Sir," called out Navigation Officer Kexron from a station, "we are approaching the outer edge of their solar system. Should we begin standard first contact protocols?" "Yes. Begin broadcasting on all frequencies. Use the standard greeting package, mathematical sequences, universal physical constants, and basic peaceful intentions." Veltar turned to address the bridge crew. "Remember, these Terrans have never seen anything beyond their own small world. They will be frightened. We must be patient with them." The communications array on the massive ship began sending signals toward Earth. The messages contained simple mathematical concepts that any intelligent species would recognize, followed by pictures showing the peaceful nature of their visit. The Confederation had learned over centuries that fear was the biggest obstacle to successful first contact. Dr. Yextal, the mission xenobiologist, joined them on the bridge. His green tentacles swayed as he walked, and his multiple eyes blinked in sequence. The biological scans show they are quite similar to several species we know. Carbon-based, oxygen-breathing, roughly the same size as Nexri. They should adapt well to galactic society. "Good," Veltar replied. "How long until we receive their response?" "With their primitive technology, it could take several hours, perhaps even days," Thexera answered. "Their fastest ships use chemical propulsion. They probably don't even have faster-than-light communication yet." The bridge fell into a comfortable routine as they waited. This was always the longest part of first contact, waiting for the primitive species to detect their presence and figure out how to respond. Some species took weeks to craft their first reply. Others never responded at all, too afraid to make contact with beings from the stars. Veltar walked to his command chair, a specially designed seat that accommodated his unique physiology. Around him, dozens of officers from various species worked at their stations. The Confederation prided itself on diversity and cooperation between different worlds. Soon, the Terrans would be part of this great galactic family. "Sir," the communications officer, a young Valdani named Texmir, suddenly straightened at his station. "We're receiving a response." "Already?" Veltar was surprised. "Are you certain it's not just random radio noise?" "No, sir. This is definitely intentional. And, sir, they're using galactic standard communication protocols." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Galactic Standard was a complex communication system that had taken the Confederation centuries to develop. It required advanced mathematics and physics knowledge that primitive species simply did not possess. "That's impossible," Dr. Yextal whispered, his tentacles curling in confusion. "They couldn't know our protocols. They've never had contact with galactic civilization." "Put on the main speaker," Veltar ordered, his golden eyes wide with surprise. A clear, calm voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect galactic standard with only the slightest accent. "Confederation Vessel Harmony's voice. This is Earth Unified Space Command. Welcome to our solar system. We have been expecting your arrival. Please proceed to coordinates 127.45 by 89.32 near our fourth planet for formal diplomatic contact. We have prepared appropriate facilities for your delegation." The bridge crew stared at each other in complete shock. In 847 First Contacts, nothing like this had ever happened. Primitive species didn't have unified space commands. They didn't know Confederation ship names. They certainly didn't have facilities prepared for alien delegations. "Commander," Veltar said slowly, "run a full scan of their system. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with here." As the sensors swept through the solar system, more surprises emerged. There were structures in space that their initial scans had missed, energy signatures that didn't match any known primitive technology. And most disturbing of all, there seemed to be ships, many ships, operating throughout the system that their sensors could barely detect. "Ambassador," Thexera said quietly, "I don't think these Terrans are as primitive as we thought." Veltar stared at the blue planet on his screen, feeling uncertain for the first time in decades of diplomatic service. The Terrans were waiting for them, prepared and organized. But how was that possible? And what else didn't they know about this mysterious species called humanity? Captain Jinwoo Park stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the massive alien vessel approach through the darkness of space. The Confederation ship was enormous, easily 10 times larger than his own vessel, but he felt no fear. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, their faces calm and professional. "Captain," said Lieutenant Hygiene Kim from her position at the communications desk, "the alien ship is requesting permission to dock with us." "Tell them yes," Jinwoo replied, "and make sure the meeting room is ready for our guests." The human ship was sleek and white, about 300 meters long with smooth curves and no visible weapons. To the aliens watching from their massive vessel, it looked like exactly what they expected from a young civilization. Functional but simple, nothing threatening or advanced. But Commander Thexera noticed something odd as she studied the human ship on her screens. "Ambassador, their hull material is strange. Our scans can't seem to get a clear reading on it. Probably just an unusual metal alloy," Veltar replied, adjusting his ceremonial robes as he prepared to meet the humans. Young species often develop interesting materials before they master space travel. An hour later, the alien delegation walked through the corridors of the human ship toward the meeting room. The walls were clean and simple, but Dr. Yextal noticed that the lighting seemed to adjust automatically as they moved, and the air felt perfectly comfortable despite the different atmospheres their species preferred. "Welcome aboard," Jinwoo said as he greeted them in the meeting room. He was a man of average height with kind eyes and a calm smile. Behind him stood several other humans in similar blue uniforms. "I am Captain Park Jinwoo of the Terran space vessel Soul's Pride. This is my science officer, Dr. Minho Choi, and my security chief, Major Soo-Young Lee." Ambassador Veltar bowed in the traditional Nexari greeting. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace, hoping to welcome humanity into the galactic community." "We appreciate that very much," Jinwoo replied. "Please sit down. We have prepared refreshments suitable for all your species." The aliens were impressed. The humans had somehow known exactly what foods and drinks each species could safely consume. This level of preparation was unusual for a first contact situation. "Captain Park," Veltar began, "we must say your response to our arrival was quite remarkable. Most species require considerable time to understand our communications and organize a response." Jinwoo smiled politely. "We have been studying galactic languages and customs for some time, Ambassador. We believe in being prepared." This statement confused several of the aliens. How could the humans have studied galactic languages when they had never made contact with anyone before? But they decided not to ask about it directly. Over the next few hours, the discussions went amazingly well. The humans seemed to understand complicated ideas about interstellar trade, galactic law, and diplomatic relations. Dr. Minho spoke knowledgeably about different alien species and their cultures. Major Soo-Young asked intelligent questions about galactic military threats and defense strategies. "Your species learns very quickly," Commander Thexera observed. "Most new civilizations take years to understand these concepts. We have good teachers. Dr. Minho replied with a mysterious smile. As the day continued, Ambassador Veltar presented the standard agreement that the Confederation offered to all new species. This protectorate status will provide you with military protection while you develop the technology and knowledge needed to become full galactic citizens. Captain Jinwoo read through the agreement carefully, then looked up with a respectful expression. Ambassador, we are honored by this offer. However, we prefer to maintain our independence while building friendly relationships with the Confederation. The aliens exchanged surprised glances. Most primitive species eagerly accepted protection from the dangerous galaxy. The humans seemed remarkably confident in their ability to defend themselves. Captain, General Krexdal spoke for the first time, his warrior instincts alert. You understand there are many threats in space? Pirates, hostile empires, dangerous phenomena that can destroy entire worlds. We are aware of the risks. Jinwoo replied calmly. Earth has not survived this long by being careless about our safety. Dr. Yextal had been quietly scanning the humans with his medical equipment throughout the meeting. Captain, your species shows no signs of stress or fear. This is quite unusual for first contact situations. Should we be afraid? Major Suyang asked with genuine curiosity. Well, no, the doctor replied, but most species find the idea of a vast galaxy full of unknown civilizations to be overwhelming. We find it exciting, Dr. Minho said. There is so much to learn and explore. As the meeting continued into the evening, small details began to bother the alien visitors. The human ship's computers seemed incredibly advanced for such a young civilization. Their energy readings were strange and powerful. Most puzzling of all, Captain Jinwoo and his crew seemed to know things about galactic politics and military situations that should have been impossible for them to learn. When the formal sessions ended, Ambassador Veltar found himself both pleased and confused. The humans were perfect diplomatic partners, intelligent, peaceful, and reasonable. But something felt wrong about the whole situation. They were too prepared, too knowledgeable, too calm. Commander, he said quietly to Thexera as they returned to their ship, I want detailed scans of this entire solar system. Something about these humans doesn't add up. Yes, sir, she replied. I've been thinking the same thing. They're hiding something from us. The second day of meetings brought new surprises for the alien delegation. As they gathered in the conference room aboard the human ship, Dr. Yextal noticed something that made his tentacles curl with curiosity. The walls seemed to be made of material he had never seen before, and when he tried to scan it with his equipment, the readings made no sense. Captain Park, the alien scientist said during a break in discussions, your ship's construction is quite interesting. What materials do you use for the hull? Jinwoo exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Minho before answering. We use a composite material developed by our engineers. Nothing too special, just something that works well in space. But General Krexdal had been watching the energy readings from his portable scanner all morning. The human ship was producing power signatures that seemed impossible for their supposed level of technology. Captain, your power source is quite efficient. What type of reactor do you use? Solar collection and fusion backup systems. Major Suyang replied smoothly. We try to be environmentally friendly. The general scanner told a different story. The energy output was far too high for any solar or fusion system he knew about. Something else was powering the ship, something the humans didn't want to discuss. Commander Thexera had been studying the tactical displays on her wrist computer when she noticed movement patterns throughout the solar system that didn't match what they could see. Ambassador, she whispered to Veltar, there's much more activity in this system than we initially detected. What do you mean? Veltar asked quietly. Ship movements, energy signatures, construction activities. It's like there's a whole civilization here that we can barely see. Dr. Minho was explaining human biology to the interested aliens when he mentioned something that made them all pause. Of course, we've studied the effects of different atmospheric compositions on various species. The data helps us prepare better living environments. But how do you have such data? Dr. Yextal asked, his multiple eyes blinking in confusion. You've never met other species before today. We have very thorough research programs. Dr. Minho answered with that same mysterious smile they had all noticed. During lunch, Lieutenant Hygiene demonstrated the ship's communication system to the fascinated aliens. The equipment could translate dozens of languages instantly and seemed to understand cultural context and subtle meanings. Commander Thexera had worked with translation technology for decades, and this was far more advanced than anything the Confederation used. "How long did it take to develop the system?" she asked. "Oh, we've been working on language translation for quite some time," Hygiene replied. "It's important to be able to communicate clearly." But the real surprise came when they asked to see more of the human ship. As Captain Jinwoo led them through the corridors, General Krexto noticed blast doors that were much thicker than needed for a peaceful exploration vessel. The corridors had emergency bulkheads designed to seal sections quickly, and there were what looked like weapon storage compartments built into the walls. "Captain," the general said carefully, "your ship seems designed for more than just exploration. Space can be dangerous." Jinwoo replied simply, "We believe in being prepared for any situation." Ambassador Veltar was becoming more suspicious by the hour. When they passed a section marked as restricted, he caught a glimpse through an open doorway of equipment that looked nothing like the simple technology they had been shown. It was sleek, advanced, and definitely military in design. "Captain Park," Veltar said as they returned to meeting room, "your defensive capabilities. Surely you understand that there are serious threats in this galaxy? Pirates, hostile empires, creatures that can destroy entire fleets." Jinwoo sat down calmly and folded his hands on the table. "Ambassador, Earth has survived many dangers over the centuries. We have learned to take appropriate precautions." "But what kind of precautions?" Commander Thexera pressed. "Your planet appears to have only basic orbital defenses." "Appearances can be misleading," Major Suyang said quietly. Dr. Yextal had been running continuous scans of the solar system from his portable equipment. The results were disturbing. "Captain, I'm detecting structures throughout your system that don't appear on our main sensors. Asteroid mining operations, orbital platforms, what appears to be manufacturing facilities. How is this possible?" "We're an industrious species," Dr. Minho replied. "We like to stay busy." That evening, as the alien delegation prepared to return to their ship for the night, General Krexto pulled Ambassador Veltar aside. "Sir, something is very wrong here. This ship has military-grade shielding that our scanners can barely penetrate. Their power systems are producing energy levels that should be impossible, and their crew shows combat training in how they move and react." "I've noticed the same things," Veltar replied, his golden eyes troubled. "They're hiding their true capabilities from us." "But why?" Commander Thexera joined their quiet conversation. "If they have advanced technology, why pretend to be primitive?" "That's what worries me," the general said grimly. "Species don't usually hide their strength unless they have something to hide or someone to hide from." As they prepared to leave the human ship, Ambassador Veltar made a decision. "Commander, I want full sensor sweeps of this entire system tonight. Use our most powerful scanners. I want to know exactly what these humans are capable of. And if we find something they don't want us to see?" Thexera asked. Veltar looked back at the human ship, where Captain Jinwoo and his crew waited politely to bid them good night. "Then we'll know we're dealing with something much more dangerous than a primitive civilization that just learned to leave their planet." The mystery of humanity was deepening, and the aliens were beginning to realize they might not be the ones in control of this first contact situation. The third day of peaceful talks was interrupted by alarms screaming across both ships. Lieutenant Hygiene looked up from her communication station with concern written across her face. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system." Ambassador Veltar felt his heart sink as he recognized the dark red markings on the approaching vessels through the viewing screens. "Hegemony warships," he whispered, his 6 arms trembling slightly. 15 heavy cruisers and 3 dreadnoughts. The Hegemony Collective was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most brutal military forces in existence. They conquered primitive worlds, enslaved entire populations, and turned planets into mining operations. Their arrival here could only mean one thing. They had come to claim Earth before Confederation could establish protectorate. Confederation vessel. A harsh voice crackled over the communication system. This is Admiral Vex Crone of Hegemony 4th Fleet. You will withdraw immediately from this system. We are claiming these primitives and their resources under Expansion Protocol 7. General Krexdal activated his personal communicator to contact his ship. All units, battle stations, prepare to defend the human world. But Captain Jin Woo placed a calm hand on the general's arm. That won't be necessary, General. Your ships are outnumbered and outgunned. There's no need for you to sacrifice yourselves. Captain, you don't understand, Commander Thexera said urgently. Those are hegemony dreadnoughts. Each one carries enough weapons to destroy entire cities. Your planet has no defense against them. I understand perfectly, Jinwoo replied, his voice still remarkably steady. He turned to Lieutenant Hygiene. Send a message to Admiral Song. Tell her we have uninvited guests who need be escorted out. The alien stared at him in confusion. Admiral Song? The humans had admirals? But there was no time to ask questions as the hegemony fleet continued its approach toward Earth. Primitive humans. Admiral Vex Crone's voice boomed across all frequencies. You have 1 standard hour to surrender unconditionally. Prepare your population for processing. Resistance will result in planetary bombardment. Dr. Minho checked his watch casually. An hour should be plenty of time. Time for what? Dr. Yextal asked, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. To say goodbye to our guests properly, Major Seyoung answered with a slight smile. Ambassador Veltar couldn't believe what he was hearing. The humans were acting as if 18 hegemony warships were just a minor inconvenience. Captain Park, those ships would destroy your world. You need to evacuate immediately. Ambassador, Jinwoo said gently, I recommend that you move your ships to a safe distance. Things are about to become complicated. We won't abandon you, Veltar declared firmly. The Confederation stands with its allies, even against impossible odds. I appreciate that more than you know, Jinwoo replied sincerely. But trust me, you'll want to be far away from here very soon. On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Vex Crone studied the primitive human ship with contempt. Look at that pathetic vessel. These humans don't even have proper weapons. This will be over quickly. His tactical officer, a scarred veteran of dozens of conquests, pointed at the scanner readings. Admiral, there's some unusual energy signatures in the system, but nothing that poses a threat to us. Excellent. Begin charging main batteries. We'll make an example of their largest cities first. Back on the human ship, the countdown timer showed 30 minutes remaining. Captain Jinwoo spoke quietly into his communication device. All stations, this is Park. We have hostile forces in system. Recommend minimum safe distance for friendly observers. Captain, General Krexdal said desperately, my ships have some firepower. We could try to help, though I fear it would only delay the inevitable. General, your courage honors Confederation, Jinwoo replied, but this is not your fight. Please, take your ships to the coordinates my navigation officer is sending you. The alien delegation reluctantly returned to their ship as the hegemony fleet moved into attack formation. Ambassador Veltar stood on his bridge, watching the human vessel drift alone in space like a tiny fish facing a school of sharks. 15 minutes until they opened fire, Commander Thexera reported grimly. Captain Park's ship is moving away from Earth, but not very quickly. They're abandoning their planet, Dr. Yextal said sadly. I can't blame them. There's nothing they can do against those odds. But General Krexdal was studying his tactical display with growing confusion. That's strange. The human ship isn't running away. It's moving to what looks like a firing position. Firing position? Veltar asked. Against 18 hegemony warships? Have they lost their minds? On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Vex Crone prepared to give the order to fire. 10 minutes remaining, primitive humans. Surrender now or watch your world burn. There was no response from Earth or the small human ship. Admiral, his sensor officer called out suddenly, I'm detecting some kind of distortion in space around our fleet. What kind of distortion? I'm not sure, sir. It's like space itself is bending somehow. Admiral Vexcrone looked at his screens, but saw nothing unusual. Just empty space surrounding his powerful fleet and the tiny human vessel that dared to face them. He had no idea that everything was about to change. With 5 minutes left on the countdown timer, something impossible began to happen. The empty space around the hegemony fleet started to shimmer like water in the summer heat. Admiral Vexcrone stared at his screens in confusion as the distortion grew larger and larger, covering thousands of kilometers in all directions. "What is that?" he demanded from his sensor officer. "I don't know, sir. Our scanners are showing massive energy buildups, but there's nothing there." On the Confederation ship, Ambassador Veltar watched the same phenomenon with growing amazement. "Commander Thexera, are you seeing this?" "Yes, sir. It's like space itself is breaking apart." Suddenly, the shimmering stopped. For one perfect moment, everything was silent and still. Then reality tore open like fabric being ripped in half. Massive shapes emerged from nothingness. One by one, enormous warships materialized out of what had seemed like empty space. They were sleek and deadly, their black hulls scarred by countless battles. Each ship was twice the size of a hegemony dreadnought, and their weapon systems glowed with barely contained power. "Impossible!" General Krexdol whispered as he counted the vessels appearing on his screens. 20, 30, 40 ships. Where did they come from? The hegemony fleet, which had seemed so powerful a moment before, now looked small and helpless surrounded by the massive Terran warships. Admiral Vexcrone's flagship was dwarfed by the vessel that materialized directly in front of it, close enough that he could see the battle damage on its armor plating. All hegemony vessels. A calm female voice spoke across every communication channel in the system. "This is Admiral Unji Song of the Terran Space Fleet. You have 30 seconds to leave our space or face immediate destruction." Admiral Vexcrone's hands shook as he stared at the tactical display. His 18 ships were completely surrounded by 47 Terran warships, each one bristling with weapon systems he didn't recognize. "This is impossible. The humans are primitive. They barely have space travel." "Sir," his tactical officer said in a terrified whisper, "their weapons are locked onto us. All of them." On Captain Jinwoo's ship, the alien delegation stood in stunned silence. Ambassador Veltar felt his legs go weak as he realized what he was seeing. "You've been lying to us. All this time, you've been lying." "Not lying, Ambassador," Jinwoo replied gently. "Just being careful. We needed to know what kind of neighbors we were dealing with." "But how?" Commander Thexera asked, her crystal features reflecting the light from the tactical displays. "How did you hide an entire fleet? How did you build ships like these without anyone knowing?" Dr. Minho stepped forward with that same mysterious smile they had seen so many times. "We've been watching the galaxy for over 200 years, learning about the different species, studying their technologies, preparing for the day when we would reveal ourselves." 200 years? Dr. Yextal's tentacles curled in shock. "But you're supposed to be a young civilization. We let people think that." Major Suyun explained. "It seemed safer to observe quietly while we decided whether the galaxy was a place we wanted to join." The hegemony fleet was already moving to retreat, their ships racing toward the edge of the solar system as fast as their engines could carry them. Admiral Vexcrone's proud voice had become a panicked whisper as he ordered the immediate withdrawal of all forces. "Admiral Song," came his trembling transmission. "We were not aware the system was under Terran protection. We withdraw all claims and apologize for the misunderstanding." "Understood, Admiral," came the reply from the massive Terran flagship. "Please note that this system and all approaching space lanes are now under permanent Terran monitoring. Have a safe journey home." As the last hegemony ship disappeared into hyperspace, the massive Terran fleet began to fade from view once again. Their cloaking systems engaged, and within minutes, space looked empty once more. Only Captain Jinwoo's small ship remained visible, floating peacefully near the Confederation vessel. Ambassador Veltar sat heavily in his command chair, trying to process what he had witnessed. "Captain Park, your species, you're not new to space travel at all, are you?" "We've been exploring the galaxy for centuries," Ambassador Jinwoo admitted. We have colonies in distant systems, trade relationships with species you've never met, and defensive agreements with civilizations that prefer to remain hidden. Then why pretend to be primitive? General Krexdol asked, why go through this elaborate deception? Captain Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment before answering, because we needed to see who you really were. The Confederation claims to stand for peace and cooperation, but we've seen too many empires that say one thing and do another. We had to know if you would respect a weaker species, or try to dominate them. And now you know, Commander Thexera said softly, yes, you were willing to sacrifice your ships to defend us against hegemony. You treated us with respect, even when you thought we were helpless. That tells us everything we need to know about the Confederation's true character. Admiral Song's voice came over the communication system one final time. Ambassador Veltar, humanity would be honored to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Confederation, but as equals, not as protectorates. As the alien delegation prepared to return home with news that would shock the entire galaxy, Ambassador Veltar realized that first contact was over. But the real relationship between humanity and the stars was just beginning. The age of Earth's secret isolation had ended, and the galaxy would never be the same